Hey y'all, welcome to Self Care Sunday. My name is Sydney and I'm your host. I'm also your favorite relationship coach from Purpose Driven Passion, and it is going down tonight. Tonight we're talking about being triggered. I don't know about y'all, but one of my favorites written by Jhené Aiko is Triggered. That's my song, but it's toxic, y'all. We've got to get it together, right? So let's talk about what it means to be triggered. First and foremost, a trigger in general, just like a gun, is something that activates a release. Specific to our emotions and our self-care, it activates an emotional response. And so for some of us, our triggered response comes as a result of someone doing something. So I'll give you an example. If yelling was something that happened to me as a part of a traumatic experience before in my life, and someone came to me and they were yelling at me, my response, right, because the trigger is going to be the yelling, my response, my behavior is going to be a result of that trigger. And what typically happens is we have a hard time taking responsibility for the things that happen as a result of our triggers, because we think that the people we come into contact with should, one, be aware of our triggers, but also be mindful, right? We're like, well, if that's not the response that you wanted, you should have approached me doing this. The only thing that we are responsible for, guys, is how we respond to things. It's how we show up. So we have to show up healthy, and we have to show up with the perspective in mind that I'm in control of how I feel. Now, does this apply to all triggers? Of course not, because some triggers take a long time for us to undo. Like, for example, if you face any kind of assault or anything like that, that traumatic rollback, the peeling back of that trauma is something, and to be honest, all traumas, because no one trauma is larger than another. It just hits each person differently. But if you got a deep trauma, guys, don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. Go find you a clinician. Y'all already know how I feel about that, right? Go find you a professional coach who's trained in dealing with trauma and unpacking trauma so that you can move beyond the trigger. Y'all know I got my laptop down here and it's always updating. It's an Apple product. But anyway, some of the ways that you know that you are triggered is just by looking at how do you feel in the moment. Are my muscles tense? Am I angry? What's causing me to feel this way, right, is the next question. And some of you might say, well, what if my muscles don't tense? And what if I don't really feel anger when I think I'm being triggered? It could be for you that your trigger response is to shut down, or your trigger response might be to build up walls and block people out, because isolation is a great way to respond to something or someone that triggers you, if that's a habit that makes you feel good. And that's the point. The trigger causes us to go into whatever coping mechanism gets the trigger undone. But just like going back to our gun reference, right, we really have to be intentional, because once I fire a bullet, I can't get that bullet back. And so that's what happens to our relationships, right? People continually trigger us, or people continually put us in spaces that make us feel like we got to fight, that make us feel like we have to have a response. And whatever that outcome of the response is, we feel like it's okay because you brought us to that point. So I want to talk to you guys. So first of all, you might be saying, well, Sydney, what do I do once I'm triggered? Oh, y'all, just what I did. One more time for those who missed it. You don't have to have a right then response. In fact, majority of the things that happen to us, our outcomes would be a whole lot better if we actually just stopped and paused and said, how do I feel in this moment? Explore that. Why do I feel this way? What's causing me to feel this way? Before I make a decision on how I'm going to respond, I'm going to choose to go inside, reflect inwardly, and then make a decision. What happened to make me feel this way? Why do I feel this way? And here's another secret, guys. Because we know that there are things that have happened in our past that are similar to what we're facing, 9 times out of 10, we respond to the present thing the same way that we would the past thing. So we have to be really, really intentional to say, is what's happening, is it the event that's taking place right now that's my real issue? Is that my real concern? Is that really what I'm looking at? Or is it what happened in the past and I'm continuing to bring that with me, right? Is it what happened then or what's happening now that's affecting me? What is the trauma speaking to? And what is it triggering me to do? Because we may know that a past relationship that didn't work out may have had these types of behaviors before. Now, that doesn't mean, first of all, you should be alert if you're in a new relationship and it's healthy, and this could be a friendship or whatever, and they're doing things that someone from the past has done. You have to assess, you have to slow down. Is this traits that this person isn't a good fit for me? Or is this a trait of is this a trauma trait showing me, oh shoot, I need to abort, I need to leave, this relationship isn't working out, it's no longer serving me, I'm gonna leave. Triggers are not always bad, but they're definitely warning signs that you're in a place that you do not like to be. So that's why it's important to say, what made me feel this way? Why do I feel this way? Is it because of what's happening currently? Is this a sign that I need to leave that situation? Or is this a sign that I still need to heal from past situations? And so I want you to take the time today, I want you to take the time this entire week, really, until we see each other next Sunday, to think about your triggers. What are some things that are triggering you? What are some things that have triggered you? How do you know when you've been triggered? And then I want you to think to yourself, how am I going to cope? How am I going to slow myself down enough to respond with responsibility and not trauma? How do I show up present in the level of growth that I want to see myself produce in the future? So I hope this was helpful for you guys. And if you want some other tips, like ways that I